I will have been married 24 years as of next week. So, we're doing pretty good at making it work. Now, don't get me wrong, it is about as far from perfect as you can get. And my husband and I have had, countless struggles throughout those 24 years. But the one thing that we really have that is making it all work is that we're willing to do the work. Right?
It's Evie here. Welcome to EML Radio, where we are always talking truth. All of those things you need to hear that nobody else is willing to say.
Hey, welcome back to EML Radio. Got a little relationship advice for you today. This could be scary. No, but seriously, I wanted to share with everybody a kind of a new routine, or just kind of a new realization that I've had in the last couple of months that has taken my relationship with my husband to a really nice place. So for what it's worth, I will have been married 24 years as of next week. So we're doing pretty good at making it work. Now, don't get me wrong, it is about as far from perfect as you can get. And my husband and I have had, countless struggles throughout those 24 years. But the one thing that we really have that is making it all work is that we're willing to do the work. Right? We never kind of take for granted that it's just going to be easy. Right? And we both have the mindset that if I'm going to live with someone for the fucking rest of my life, literally rest of my life, if I'm going to live with that person, I'm not going to live in a state of misery. Right? I'm not going to do that. Why would anyone want to do that? You want to wake up every day and spend every day that you get on earth with someone that you don't even really kind of like, or that you kind of ignore, you love them, but you don't really engage with. We both agreed a long time ago that we're never going to live that way. We were never going to live in a sexless marriage. We were never going to live in a marriage where we kind of were each just sailing our own ships. And we have fought hard to stay the best friends that we were when we met. Because honestly, it's more than any of the kind of love and passion and all that stuff, my husband and I really are best friends. And I know that may sound kind of cheesy, and actually it has been a detriment at times in our marriage where he calls me dude and sometimes treats me just like one of the guys, which I like, but then also there's a balance in that, right? So anyway, I just want to give you a little background that we've had plenty of struggles. We've had struggles at different times in our life where we honestly didn't know if we were going to be able to make it work, right? But right now, in the last couple of months, I had kind of this realization, and it makes perfect sense, but I want to share it with you guys. So you hear me talk about all the time that, the little things are what add up to the big things. I teach it constantly. I talk about it constantly in nutrition, right? Where I'm telling you, you don't need to change your whole entire life. You just need to start eating breakfast. You just need to eat some colors. I teach people how to take little steps each day that then get them to the big goal. Same thing with your fitness, right? You don't have to all of a sudden go from sitting on the couch to running a 5K or sitting on the couch to going and joining a gym. Go from the couch to going for a walk. Right? So I believe and I know that the little things add up to the big things. And I know the little kind of seemingly meaningless things are where success and happiness really are at. But when I think about it, I really wasn't employing that principle in my own marriage. Right? I was always approaching things that if we were at a point where we were really contentious with one another, or if we were at a point where we were just kind of like two ships passing in the night, I always was like, we got to make these big, huge changes and we got to do all these drastic things to improve it. And it was probably about 2 months ago now. This is kind of a funny story. We have a little coffee station in our butler's pantry. Okay? And my husband, Casey, has his little pods that he likes to make his coffee with. And I have a kind of an old school espresso machine because I like the process of steaming my milk and yada yada, which by the way is a funny side note. I bought the espresso machine for him for Christmas and he never fucking used it, never once. Right? Like $750 machine and he never touched it. Which I think back about it and it's like, it doesn't surprise me. He's not into the process of things like I am, right? I get sentimental and I enjoy slowing down in processes. And he's like, I need everything done as quickly as possible. So anyway, every morning we're usually down there at some point together and he's making his coffee and I'm making mine. And he has kind of this little ritual where he lays out a paper towel and he lays out his spoon because he's very, very tidy. Let me tell you that. And he makes his coffee. He stirs it because he puts some kind of creamer in there, stirs it, and then he leaves his spoon on the paper towel for the next 2 or 3 cups that he's going to have. Okay. Well, every day I would get down there after he had already laid out the paper towel with his spoon on it, and I would, make my espresso shot, steam my milk, and then when I put them together, I needed to stir it. I used some raw sugar in mine, so I would grab that spoon, stir my coffee with it, and then I would go put it in the sink. Right? Well, I can't tell you like how irritating that was for him, because he would go back to make his cup of coffee and he'd have no spoon. Okay? And I mean, literally, this has gone on for probably the last 2 years, like daily, right? And he would say to me like, God, you're a spoon stealer. Right? Now, I know this may sound so trivial, but I guarantee every one of you that is in a relationship has experienced these little nitpicky things, right? No doubt. So he's like, God, you have to take my spoon every morning? So if you just think about it, it's just a spoon, right? But it kind of isn't just the spoon, because just that exchange was like an exchange of irritation. First thing, every single day. So 2 months ago I go to make my coffee. There's his spoon sitting there and his paper towel. So I take his spoon, I use it to stir my coffee, and as I'm walking it back to the sink, it just like dawned on me. I was like, what if I just took literally 10 seconds to grab a new paper towel and a new spoon and set it out for him? Pretty simple, like 10 seconds, right? So sure enough, I'm enjoying my coffee, standing outside, and he comes up to me and says, God, like, thank you so much for laying out that spoon. Now stick with me, guys, because I know this sounds like stuff that really doesn't matter, but the reality is it does matter. There's all these little things within our relationship with these people that we have chosen to spend our life with that are seemingly so trivial, but they're really not. Because if you really think about the concept of, living together or in a long-term committed relationship or marriage, like you're two completely different human beings trying to make everything work. And those little things can turn into big things. So inevitably, you've all had it, right? Where your spouse or your significant other does one little thing that really just grates your nerves. And then what happens? The rest of the day, you find yourself just highly irritated and easily irritated with that person. So what if you did this? What if you did what I did with the spoon? How would that change your interaction in your relationship throughout the rest of the day? And then you add that day into the next day and into the next day, where you are consciously doing little things that improve your overall relationship. So I know it may kind of sound silly, but it really was kind of an awakening for me. I was like, look at how far in our kind of like our ability to get along during the day, look at how far me just taking 10 seconds to set out a clean spoon and a clean paper towel for him. Look how far that went. And then the other important piece of this, so we've been kind of practicing it now in a lot of different areas. I pointed out to him and he's like, yeah, you're right. Like that actually kind of went a long way with me, that you were just respectful enough of my morning routine that you left me out a clean spoon. So he sits in our living room every morning where we've got these big fluffy pillows, right? And every day he gets up and he leaves the pillow all smashed, right? And I don't like to leave my house with my house looking kind of out of order. I know, I can be super anal, guys. But I then asked him, would you mind just fluffing up that pillow? He's like, what pillow? I said, just fluffing up, the little kidney pillow that's on the chair when you get up every day to go to work. If you could do that, like, it would be great. And he was like, well, yeah, of course. So that's another thing you need to realize, that things that may bother you are most often things your spouse or significant other isn't even aware of. But you know what we do? Instead of actually just kindly saying, hey, would you mind like fluffing up that pillow so I don't have to do it and pick up after you every day? Something he wasn't even aware of. What we do oftentimes is then we just kind of like hold this little grudge. God, he's like such a slob, right? God, I always have to fix the pillow after him. How many little things like that do you have going on in your relationship where if you just simply asked your significant other and made them aware of it, of course they would comply. But we don't do that. We just kind of piss and moan about it and bitch about how the other person isn't doing this or isn't doing that, when the reality is they can't read our mind. So there's two major takeaways I want you to leave with today, is that little things will impact the big things. Little details within your relationship can completely change the course and the happiness of your relationship. And the second thing is you've got to make sure that you're actually asking. That's always been a really hard one for me, right? I am really always kind of large and in charge and in control. And then I always found myself complaining about it. And it wasn't until recently when I was doing some therapy that I was like, my gal said to me, well, have you ever just thought about like asking? You're like, I don't get any help. I've got to make all the decisions for everybody. And she said to me, well, Evie, what if you just asked? And so I started asking. And I promise you, the person that you are committed to wants things to work as much as you do. And you can't expect them to read your mind. So here's the truth that I want you to take away today. If you are choosing to be in a long-term relationship, or you want to have a marriage that lasts a lifetime, you don't always have to address all the big things. What you need to address is the small things in your daily interactions. Show one another a little respect. Go out of your way to do something kind, and don't ever shy away from asking for what you need. Thanks a lot, guys. Always a pleasure. Hope this helped you out. I am by far not a relationship specialist, but I can tell you what, I've done a lot of work and I wouldn't trade my relationship for anything in the world. We'll see you next time.